For 4 decades, the Belmont bloodline has stood between humanity and eternal night. But now, Castlevania Belmont's Curse throws us into 1499 Paris, where a castle rises from nowhere and the future of the clan hangs by a thread. Who is the last true Belmont carrying the vampire killer? Is Dracula preparing another resurrection? And what exactly is this mysterious curse that may be turning hunters into beasts? Today, we break down every clue, every theory, and every shadow shown in the announcement trailer. Let's get into it. Timeline, plot, and gameplay. Alright, let's rewind the clock to the year 1499 and try to understand when the game is set. 23 years after the events of Castlevania III Dracula's Curse, the world hasn't exactly found peace. Instead of Transylvania, the nightmare shifts to medieval Paris, where demonic creatures begin overrunning the city in terrifying waves. And here's the deal. Dracula's castle does not rise from cursed soil in Wallachia. It manifests directly in the heart of Paris itself, like a malignant cathedral of darkness erupting among the people. The local bishop, desperate and concerned, sends a letter to Trevor Belmont, the legendary vampire hunter. But Trevor is no longer the young warrior we remember. So he sets out alongside a young member of the Belmont clan, a descendant, a new bearer of the bloodline. Together, they march toward the castle to uncover how the demonic invasion began and whether something even more ancient has been awakened. Castlevania Belmont's Curse returns to the exploration-heavy, non-linear design that made Symphony of the Night legendary. This is a full Metroidvania structure. You explore both the castle and the surrounding city of Paris. The map autofills as you explore, save rooms are scattered across dangerous corridors, and fast travel points allow strategic movement once unlocked. Combat centers on the Belmont family's holy whip, the Vampire Killer. Much like Super Castlevania 4, the whip allows free directional attacks and even traversal techniques. You can swing across chasms, latch onto points, and reach vertical spaces that would otherwise be inaccessible. The question is not who will survive. The question is who will inherit the curse. The protagonist of Castlevania, Belmont's Curse. Now this is where things get really interesting, because Konami tried to be subtle, but longtime fans, they noticed immediately. During the February 2026 PlayStation State of Play reveal, the trailer for Castlevania Belmont's Curse showed intense combat, gothic Parisian architecture, and an older Trevor Belmont receiving a desperate plea for help. But the actual character slicing through demons in Notre Dame did not look like Trevor at all. Instead, what we see is a slimmer warrior, long blonde hair braided down her back, dressed in light blue combat outfit, wielding the vampire killer with confidence that feels inherited. And that's the key word, inherited. The trailer makes it clear that Trevor Belmont has aged. He has gray hair, a visible scar, a worn presence that suggests he is stepping aside. Standing behind him is a younger figure, put it at first, then revealed through gameplay sequences as the true protagonist. Every visual cue screams Belmont bloodline, but the design feels familiar in another way. The long braided blonde hair, the light blue attire, the agile movements, hardcore fans immediately connect the dots to Sonia Belmont, the heroine of Castlevania Legends from 1997. Sonia was once positioned as the first vampire hunter of the Belmont clan. She even had a child at the end of the story, a detail that later lore complicated. Now imagine this. What if Belmont's Curse is quietly reintroducing her into official continuity? It could be Trevor's daughter, possibly named in tribute to the legendary Sonia. Or it could be a full reimagining of Sonia herself, rewritten and placed directly into 1499 timeline. And here's the beautiful symmetry. Belmont's Curse takes place exactly 500 years before Dracula's final defeat in 1999's Demon Castle War. I mean, that is deliberate. Sonia was largely forgotten outside of crossovers like Vampire Survivors. But if this is truly her reborn, modernized incarnation, then Konami is doing more than launching a new Metroidvania. They're restoring a lost chapter of Belmont history. And if that's true, this might not just be a new hero. This might be the resurrection of a legend. Will Dracula return in Castlevania Belmont's Curse? So, will Dracula actually return in Belmont's Curse? If you're asking whether Konami has flat out said yes, Dracula is the villain, not yet. but the way they're talking about this game is basically the Gothic equivalent of pointing at a coffin and whistling innocently. Here's what we know for sure. Belmont's Curse is set in 1499 Paris, and it takes place 23 years after Castlevania III: Dracula's Curse. The castle manifests in the middle of a major city, and Trevor Belmont's successor is sent into the chaos to hunt whatever force is pouring monsters into the streets. That setup already screams classic Castlevania. A Belmont, a sudden demon outbreak, a castle that appears like a supernatural event. That's the franchise's signature alarm bell. Now the real eyebrow raiser is Konami's own anniversary messaging. When the company frames Belmont's Curse as part of a full revival and tells fans to look forward to the return of the magnificent nightmare lurking in the darkness, they're choosing words that sound a lot less like random new villain and a lot more like the icon is back. And in Castlevania, the icon is obvious. Dracula is basically the engine of the timeline. Even when he's defeated, the series has a long tradition of building new arcs around his influence, his cults, his residual evil, or outright resurrection. So, if Konami is resurrecting Castlevania for its 40th anniversary, a Dracula-centric threat is the most on-brand way to do it. But here's the smart story nerd way to phrase it. Dracula's physical return is likely, but not guaranteed. The game could pull a classic misdirection. The castle could be manifesting because someone is trying to bring him back, or because a Dracula event is underway, with Paris as the sacrificial stage. Either way, if a Belmont is walking into a castle that erupted from darkness, the odds are the High Lord of Shadows is somewhere behind the curtain. What is the curse? Who is this werewolf? The curse in Belmont's Curse looks less like a vague evil aura and more like a physical infection that rewrites a hunter's body. That right hand, the cursed one, it's not just cosmetic. It reads like a progressive corruption, something you can't pray off, only manage. And the werewolf clue isn't subtle either. A figure described as moving like a wolf, one eye hidden as if scarred, a gloved hand, and a Belmont-grade cross being thrown like an ultimate subweapon. That is not a random monster behavior. That is a trained hunter fighting while transforming. So who is he? The coiled whip on the left arm screams Belmont lineage. The cross throw screams classic toolkit. If the curse is lycanthropy, then this character is either a fallen Belmont or the worst case scenario, Trevor himself, older, wounded, and infected, meaning the game's central horror is not just Dracula's return, it's watching the Belmont legacy turn feral from the inside. Release date. Konami has confirmed that Castlevania Belmont's Curse will release in 2026, with physical editions already available for pre-order across PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch, alongside a Windows launch. The early retail push signals strong confidence in the title as part of the franchise's 40th anniversary revival. While an exact date is still under wraps, all signs point to Belmont's Curse being positioned as a major flagship release for the year. Belmont's Curse is obviously going up to be more than just another Gothic adventure. It feels like a turning point, a possible new heir to the Belmont legacy, a hinted return of Dracula, a curse that may corrupt even the purest bloodline, and a werewolf figure who could be a fallen hunter or something far more tragic. If these threads connect the way they seem to, this 40th anniversary chapter may redefine Castlevania's future forever. The night is rising again! That's all for now. I'll see you in the next one.